talking about strategy. You guys know I talked about it a little bit on the first episode, but we have some big things planned this year for the community, for the Song of the Night Live, and for the Music Morning Show. But specifically, I want to talk today about release strategy. Now, I can give my own opinion and my own kind of view, and some of y'all have heard it, of what a good release strategy is, how often you should be releasing, where you should be releasing. And I'm actually changing a few things on how I'm releasing music this year and what I'm focusing on. And thankfully, I had a couple of years of experience and data that I've been able to see and analyze what's been working for me. And I think that is a big part of knowing and planning your strategy for a specific year, and even down to each release. So, but you guys are tired of hearing from me, so I'll be giving a little bit of commentary throughout the show. Like I said, because I do have some experience. I've got over 30,000 monthly listeners right now, and I've had up to over 70,000 monthly listeners at the beginning of last year. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to hear from my new favorite. I won't say my new favorite, but one of my favorite up and coming artists, independent artists right now, which is Nick D. We talked about him yesterday, and I mentioned him to y'all last year just because this guy is winning, and you're going to be hearing a lot from me and a lot from Nick, just having conversations, because Nick is winning right now. He is at his peak. He's going crazy, and he has a lot of great information on just how you can win and release music independently. So let me go ahead and get into it. We're going to check out this video, and actually let me pause the music playing in the background, or let me just turn it down. There we go. So again, you will be able to find all of these videos at the end of the show in the description of this video. But in this one, Nick just released this a few weeks ago, and he was talking about his release strategy for 2024, what he's going to be doing, what some of the things that you guys could do as artists to get your music out there and create more content surrounding your music. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Let me turn down this music a little bit more. We're going to go ahead and get into it and see what he's talking about. And shout out to everybody in the chat. If y'all have questions or thoughts, I'll be answering those throughout the show. Also, if you guys send in super chats, don't worry, I'll be reading those throughout the show too. Let's get into it.
So, Spotify release strategy. What I'm doing, and what I really think is best for most people to do, is release frequently. The smartest thing I think you can do is to release frequently. And I think most people's gripe, I guess we can give, there's probably a few gripes. One of them would be, I can't afford to make music that often, it's too expensive. Another gripe might be, I don't want to overwhelm the listener with...
I'll let him finish.
Too frequent of releases. You know, you don't want to have your listener grow tired of your music.
That's just crazy to me that, oh man, I don't know where that comes from, but I just hate that thought. Like, how could your fans get tired of your music? Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting thing that people think that. I know there is certain thoughts and certain psychology behind how often you could release, but yeah, y'all know how I am. If you're making great music, if you're making dope music, you have true fans, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for you to lose in that case.
Maybe there's more gripes, I'm not sure. But to the listener grow tired one, or you don't want to overwhelm the listener, what I would say is, I'm the perfect example of it being the opposite. I've released
there you go.
Every 2 weeks, sometimes weekly, for the last 4 years, with a couple albums in between. And my numbers have only gone up. You know, I've only streamed more. And I think the most
there you go.
important thing that people don't realize is that I'm in the game of building catalog, right? Because the more you release, the more songs you have, the more your daily streams add up over time. And I think a lot of people are trying to just get one song to go bananas.
Yeah, then that's a great point. What do you guys, I should have asked this at the beginning, but let me know in the chat, what is your strategy as far as releasing your music? Are you guys focused on albums? Are you focused on singles? Are you like a Nick D and a Connor? Are you focused on content? Are you like a LaRussell where you're focused on more tangible, physical one-on-one interactions with people, whether that be shows? Is your plan like a Russ to where you're going to go the independent route until you can get a label to back you? I mean, there's so many paths in this music business to success. So I'm interested to know, y'all let me know in the chat what your plans are, or what your strategy is for this year and just for each release in general.
When a more realistic approach is to just release more music and it'll add up. It'll add up to a one song going bananas if you just release more music. And the likelihood of you getting one to go bananas increases the more frequent that you release. Yeah. So that's where my head has always been. It's always been to release frequently and to keep people happy. Like, for example, if you're releasing frequently and someone doesn't like your song, they just won't listen to it. They're not going to be like, ah, man, I wish my favorite artist stopped releasing so frequently.
Exactly.
They just won't listen to that one. If it's not for them.
That's exactly what I was saying earlier. Like, if people don't like it, they just won't listen to it. But that doesn't mean just because one of your fans or a couple of your fans or a new listener doesn't like it, that somebody else might not like it. And talking about the catalog, I see some of y'all mentioning this in the chat. Just because they don't like it now doesn't mean that they won't like it in the future. So, man, we talked about it yesterday just with the compound interest that you can gain from music and having a solid catalog. Y'all are going to hear me say this so many times, but if you focus on making great music, I mean, it's going to be so easy for someone to find you a year later and they're going to go back to the music that you released last year and be like, oh, man, and start going through your catalog and you get 20 people to do that, 50 people to do that, 100 people to do that, 1,000 people to do that. Man, that catalog, having a solid catalog is so powerful. And I know that from experience too, just with beats. So
they won't listen. And if they do like it, they'll listen a ton. They'll throw it on repeat.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And if you're an artist who doesn't have many listeners, and you're saying to yourself that you don't want to overwhelm the listener with releases, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have many listeners, I think you're still in the phase of, like, grow your listener base.
Yep,
and the best way to grow your listener base is to give people more options.
Yeah, exactly.
To find music that they like, that they resonate with, that they enjoy listening to. I don't think you can overwhelm a listener. I think people consume and digest and move on from content so quickly that I think people just would be happier if they had another option.
And this is why this is the biggest reason Taylor Swift, well, okay, let me not say that. And this is probably a bad example. But take this with a grain of salt. I think this is one of the bigger reasons why Taylor Swift and Drake are doing as well as they have. Now, we can go into the record label side of things and all of that, but they make music that is relatable and a lot of people are able to listen to. Think of how Taylor Swift started country and then she moved into pop. Now she's got kind of her own lane that she's going into. Same thing with Drake. If you want to go back to Michael Jackson, I mean, so many artists you can think of, independent and artists that had record labels behind them. One of the biggest reasons that they went so far and were able to do so well is because they had music that was relatable to more than just one person. Now, at the beginning, you know, I get it. You want to focus on your niche of people and the people that are listening to you. But as you continue to grow, there's going to be more and more and more and more opportunity for you to make music for maybe a different type of listener that not only your original fan base can listen to, but that more people want to listen to as well. So something to think about. Let me rewind it a little bit.
I'm a listener. I think people consume and digest and move on from content so quickly that I think people just would be happier if they had another option.
Yeah, Creole's got it.
And a real world testament to that is obviously my career of releasing frequently all the time. But another real world testament to that is, and I talked about it in my book. I wrote a book titled "You Don't Want It Bad Enough," and I'll put it in the description if you want it. But yeah,
and if you guys want this book too, I need to put this in the description. Y'all can find it. Go to nickdbook.com and get the book. I got the book myself. I listened to the podcast that comes with it because he's got a lot of bonuses that come with this too. He's got a PDF book, a podcast that comes with it, the audio book. He's got a workbook as well. So if you guys want to get that, just go to nickdbook.com and you can also find the link to this book in the description too. Anyway, we're gonna keep it moving. Quick
I talked about it in my
commercial for
book
Nick.
where I had a song start to go viral in
What's up,
January with content that I was making on TikTok. January of 2022. And it started to go viral. And immediately what I did was release a new song. Because people, people in the comments, they'll say, I love this song, release more, release more. And I think most people make the mistake of trying to run one song into the ground when what people want is more. They tell you, like, you have built-in feedback in your comments.
The audio is choppy.
And all you have to do is listen. I think most people just think they know best when the people are telling you what they want. The listener's telling you what they want, you just got to give it to them. I think people just overthink this thing so much. I think if you just create a ton, get your reps in, you'll get better over time and it'll become easier to be good more consistently. And you'll miss less. Like, you'll have less bad songs. You'll just be making better songs more often, which will make you more excited and more energetic to release them. So that's one side of it. The other flip side to what the other gripe was that I can't afford it. And I'm gonna change scenery for that.
Yeah, so before he gets into that part, that was the and y'all are saying the audio's choppy. Is it good? We should be good. Yeah, so nah, we're good. We're good. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna let Nick talk.
And to the gripe of I can't afford it, what I think is happening is most people are spending entirely too much money on.
Y'all are saying the audio is choppy. Hold on a second. Whose audio is choppy? Is my audio choppy?
The other gripe was I can't afford it. And I'm gonna change scenery for that.
Yeah. So before he gets into that part, that was the and y'all are saying the audio's choppy. Is it good? We should be good. Whose audio is choppy? Yeah, I think that might be y'all. I'll double check and make sure we're good. But yeah, mine's not either, LA. I don't know. Here we go.
Releasing music. There's a ton of more affordable ways, and I'll talk about that probably I'll make a different video on how you can release music more affordably so that you're not spending so much when you're trying to release.
Yeah, so anyway, talking about releases, a lot of y'all and a lot of artists will hear and say, oh, if you make a one song, you just stop making that song and you go and just promote the song that's doing well. And I think you guys have seen that's where a lot of one-hit wonders go wrong. You'll see somebody that'll make a song and it'll blow up and it'll continue to do well, and they'll just keep doubling down on that one song, which I think is important just from a marketing standpoint, that if you find something that is working, you need to promote it. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't release anything else just out of fear that it might not do that well. If a lot of those artists who had done songs like that had continued to create and had continued to produce music that was not only similar to the music that they were producing, but actually listening to what the community was saying about the music, I think so many of them could have done a lot better. And what ends up happening is, if you look back at a lot of songs that did really well and then they peaked and then they went down, is the artist doesn't start promoting or releasing more music until they start to see a decline from the song that went huge. And that's what Nick is saying there. It's just, you gotta keep promoting, keep going, because while you have people's eyes and while you have people looking at your content, that's only more people that can listen to the music that you released in the past, like we said, and that are going to listen to the music that you're going to keep releasing after that major hit. So
all right, what else do we got? And I talked about this before, but I think people are relying too heavily on playlists. For example, like I said, I have around 4 million monthly listeners right now, and I'm still doing about 1 million streams every day. And 2%,
1 million streams every day.
2% of the million streams that I do every day come from editorial playlists. I think people are still just trying way too hard to get into editorial playlists.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. So if I were to show you guys, let me see. And this is something I'm doing different for my strategy this year. If I were to show you guys, oh, look at that. The numbers are up. I didn't want to show this because I was going to be embarrassed because my numbers were down. But numbers are looking up, y'all. We got a 5% increase. Oh, y'all can't even see it because I've got the screen split. So we're doing good. The numbers are up. Numbers don't say everything, but it's always cool to see. This is how many listeners I've had this week. We got 10,000 listeners in the last 7 days. We're at increase of 3%. We've got 23,000 streams. Oh my goodness. In the last week, going crazy. And then the followers are up too. Followers are going crazy. And I think that's a lot because I've been using the Spotify discovery mode, which is dope. But if you guys look, we're going to go and see which playlist I'm on. I'm on a lot of the algorithmic playlists are dope. The editorial playlist you guys can see here. I'm on 3 of them, technically 4, but I've got 8 songs on this one, 4 songs on this one, and 1 song on this Spotify playlist, which is dope. But if we go and we see, where is it? Is it under audience? What is it? I'm trying to remember where to find it. Because there's a place where you can see where your streams are coming from. And I'm trying to playlist releases. I'm going to find it for y'all while we finish with Nick's video. But anyway, I'm actually the opposite of Nick. The majority of the streams from my beats come from editorial playlists. The ratio between editorial playlists versus user generated playlists is starting to level out a little bit more, but that's something I'm really focusing on changing because there's a big benefit to having artists that are actually adding your music to playlists versus editorial playlists. And of course, the biggest factor being control, right? You guys really can't control whether you're on that playlist or not. It's just up to whoever's managing that playlist to determine if you stay on there or not. Now, luckily for me, the songs that I did and have on those playlists have done really well, and they've been on there for over a year, almost 2 years actually. So thankful to Spotify for that. Thank you for rocking with the music. But we're going to be making some changes this year to just kind of level the playing field. That way I have a majority, if not more, user generated playlists that my songs/beats are on versus editorial playlists. Anyway, let's keep it going with Nick, and I'm going to see if I can find those metrics.
They think it's going to change their life or change their career. It's like there's a million songs uploaded every week. And every one of those people are also trying to get into editorial playlists. And there's only so many playlists. There's only so many songs that fit in each playlist. So I think that's the wrong game. I never cared about play. Like when I go in and I pitch a song, sometimes I'll tell a joke, sometimes I'll say, hey, how you doing? Hope you're well. And I just go in to pitch so that I get release radar. Release radar goes out to the people that already follow me on Spotify. Yeah, but I'm not trying to get, if I get a playlist, that's awesome, that's a bonus. But it's not my goal. My goal is never to get playlists, because you know who's in playlists? Random casual listeners, right? Not fans. The people in playlists don't care about your next release. They don't care about, no, man.
And he's
they don't care about you.
And that's kind of what I've been saying today and what we said yesterday. The playlists, the users that are listening to playlists are just there for the playlist. You know, they don't know you. They just know, oh, this is a cool song. But what Nick is saying is if you bring people to music because of you and because of your brand, it has a bigger impact on you having not only control over what they listen to, when they hear you, what they hear, but they also have more loyalty to you because they're there for you and not just because it's a Spotify editorial playlist. Man, I cannot find
the best way that you get people to care about you, unfortunately, is to post more content.
Ads.
Now, I know a lot of the more artsy artists, right? A lot of artists don't like making content. They don't want to post content. And I get it.
Content. I don't like it either sometimes.
I think anyone wants to make content. They just want to make music and have it perform well. But unfortunately, this is not the reality, right? That's not the time we're living in.
Tell them,
especially if you're an independent artist.
I've been trying to tell them.
No budget.
I can't find it, y'all. I'm trying to find this metric. It's killing
me.
Under
this tire is a groundhog hole. It'd be wild if it ran out right now. I mean, my strategy is the same. It hasn't changed because it hasn't stopped working. And I feel like I don't think it's going to change. Like, I think that's the game. Like, you work really hard, you release a lot of music, you create consistently, and eventually something works. Now, if you're an artist that just really, really wants to do an album, you love the idea of conceptualizing a project, I still personally don't think that it's the best way to grow as an artist, right? Those are great things for an already established artist. But if you are that kind of artist, I think the best way for you to go about it would possibly be waterfall releases. And what that is you release a single, and then you release another single that's attached to the same single, so it'd be like a double single. And you do it again. I don't know how many you can do inside one, but you can also just release a single once a week for 10 weeks and then put them all onto a project. There you go.
All right, hold on. Let's run that. We got to run that one back real quick. And yeah, I'll be reading the chat here shortly. I did not forget about y'all. Let me run this back real quick. I think we need to hear that one more time.
Already established artist. But if you are that,
a little bit more. I know, Creole. Me too.
something works.
Me too.
Now, if you're an artist that just really the game, like you work really hard, you release a lot of music, you create consistently, and eventually something works.
He's right.
Now, if you're an artist that just really, really wants to do an album, you love the idea of conceptualizing a project, I still personally don't think that it's the best way to grow as an artist, right? Those are great things for an already established artist.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with music videos, y'all. It's right now the landscape of music, you can have a bigger, more of an impact if you just release different types of content just versus one just music video. So you can make the music video and then have shorter content from that, and have different types of content, maybe behind the scenes content that you do. But just having the music video alone, it's just kind of the same thing he's saying about albums. It's cool, but it's not going to have the biggest impact.
But if you are that kind of artist, I think the best way for you to go about it would possibly be waterfall releases. And what that is you release a single, and then you release another single that's attached to the same single, so it'd be like a double single. And you do it again. I don't know how many you can do inside one, but you can also just release a single once a week for 10 weeks and then put them all onto a project. There you go. But you did it in a way that's more beneficial for the algorithm. Yes, the algorithm.
Don't say algorithm, Nick.
And also, like,
artists are gonna get triggered.
Release Radar is my best friend currently, right? I have like 300
I really want to find this.
50 or 60 or 70,000 followers on Spotify. So I love Release Radar. I can just release a song, not tell anyone it's there, and it'll still perform really well. For example, I released a Christmas song
Release
last
Radar
week.
is dope.
I submitted the song for release on Sunday. I pitched the song on Tuesday night, and it came out Thursday night at midnight. So all of it within less than a week's time. And the only reason I pitch songs, really, like I said, is to get my Release Radar. And that song on the first day did 116,000 streams.
Sheesh.
And I didn't tell anyone it was there. I didn't announce it. It just did 116,000 streams because of the people who follow me on Spotify.
Dang, that's crazy, man. Y'all give it up for Nick. And I see Creole in the chat. We're going to talk about that in a minute because you're also a great example of how you can do this well. That's crazy, man. Yeah, release Radar is dope, and that's a good way of just getting your music back out to the people who are already listening and finding new people too. But it's crazy, man. This guy's killing it. I love it.
How did I get that many followers on Spotify? Just from making a ton of content over the last few years.
Yeah.
But what I was talking about with the algorithm was, I think that because I release frequently and people expect my releases, I'm at the top or somewhere near the top of people's release radar. Because I release frequently, I'm in the release radar, and they know it's coming and they check it out. So, and if they check it out and they like it, they'll put it in their own playlist. They'll listen to it again, they'll save it. If they check it out and they don't like it, they won't. It's no skin off my back, it's no skin off theirs. So I think your strategy should be that you just stop overthinking the whole process.
Stop overthinking,
don't bank on playlisting. You don't need to pitch your song 3 to 4 weeks in advance, 5, 6 weeks in advance.
Yep.
Because why? Because you waste all that valuable time. You waste 3, 4, 6 weeks between releases, and people are in between releases. They're already forgotten you even make music. Right? It takes too long. You have to be constantly in front of people.
And the reason that, and again, guys, y'all have to think, I said this, and I don't know, maybe this will be my phrase. If you want record label results, you have to put in record label effort. The reason y'all see some of the biggest artists are out there and they're dropping content, or they're, making albums and just releasing the album, they'll tease the album here. It's because not only do they have money behind them, obviously, but they have a machine behind them. And this machine is pitching to radio, creating content here, sharing content there. A lot of some of the record labels that they're with have control of a lot of these platforms. So I say if you want record label results, you have to put in record label effort, meaning at scale. So not you have to put $100,000 into your music, you're not going to make it. No, but you have to consistently be in front of the users and giving them a reason to listen. So yeah, and then that's for a lot of us. I know I see some of y'all in the comments saying content is tough. It is, but right now the landscape of music, that is just, it's just a staple. It's just like having a high quality sound now. You have to have content along with your music, and that's just going to be your best opportunity to get in front of more listeners and to gain loyal, consistent fans. So let's finish this video up.
That's how I've always felt. That's why I share with others, and it seems to work with them too. There's a lot of artists that kind of apply this stuff, and the response from my book has been incredible. People who read my book, they change their strategy, and this stuff just starts, I don't know, it's a more practical approach to making a living making music. It's a different goal system, right?
Practical is the key.
The goal here is not to be, you know, one of the biggest artists in the world. The goal here is to just make a living doing something we love, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say your goal. I mean, probably some of you guys watching this want to be an A-list superstar. I get it. I've never wanted to be that.
No, I'm good.
I don't have a desire in that. But I think a lot of people watching this, they just want to make a living making music, right? They just want to feed their family doing something they enjoy.
There you go, free.
And I think the most practical way to do that,
I like that,
is to just release frequently, create your content, and don't stop till something works.
I love that, man. Shout out to Nick. That's not the end of the video. We're going to get to it in a second. But he's even, if you listen to a couple of podcasts that Nick has been on, he even mentioned there's some record labels now that are talking about Nick. They're talking about Connor Price. They're talking about LaRussell, and they're like, hey, you see, the record labels are telling their artists, hey, you see what these guys are doing over here? Like, we need to do more of that. We need to do what they're doing. Can you imagine if a record, not even record label aside, if an artist that had the power of a record label behind them and had the funding from of a record label behind them and had the connections of a record label behind them, even put in, you know, 50% of this type of effort when it comes to content that Nick did and that Connor do and that LaRussell does, man, they would be taken off. And it's a shame. You know, it's a shame that they don't see it. Maybe it's not a shame, because then you've got artists like SR that are out here that are getting popular. But you see DaBaby, he does it really well. DaBaby's one of the few artists that puts out content, whether that's from short form content or music videos, that goes along with his music and makes it so entertaining. And, you know, I'm not even the biggest DaBaby fan, but just because I see all the effort that he puts in to pushing his music by creating short form content, long form content, man, it's just, there's so much opportunity there for y'all. And I want you to see it, because there's a ton of good examples out there for you, like Nick, for example. So let's keep it going.
Just gotta keep going. All right, guys, 2024. It's gonna be a big year for a lot of you guys watching. And by big is relative. Big could be going from 10 listeners to 100.
200, yeah.
Could be going from 100 listeners to 1,000. That's huge. That's a huge jump. I don't think you guys know how many people 100 people really is. Like, you put 100 people in a room, you're like, good Lord, these 100 people really listen to me? It just seems less because the internet, right? It's just, there's no real ends to the internet. There's endless people out there. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, thank you for watching. If you want these type of videos daily, because I'm not putting a ton of editing, I'm just kind of sitting down, throwing up my thoughts. But if you want these type of videos, and if you want them daily, I might be able to make that happen. I just give you my thoughts kind of on the day-to-day. And if you have anything else you want me to talk about, kind of throw my thoughts up on, comment down below, and I'll try to get to it. Anyway, that's all I got.
Shout out to Nick D, man. Y'all go check him out, Freddie for Artists. He's got a ton of other channels over there. I will drop the link to that video and to his YouTube channel where he drops all this content too. Super dope, man. Y'all know I spent the last year, 2 years spreading the same message and telling y'all this is really what works. And I can do better at it myself. You know, I do the live streams and I do some short form videos, but this year I think King Creole said it, doubling down on content, because you can see so easily how it just creates more opportunity for you. So, all right, let me see what y'all are saying in the chat. And shout out to everybody who's in here. We got over 20,000 people watching on YouTube. And you know, BandLab gang is over there too. Let me see how many people we got on BandLab. We got a ton of people over on BandLab too. 55,000 people on BandLab. Appreciate y'all. Let me see what y'all are saying in the chat about that video we just heard from Nick. Let me see. Museminds in here said my 2024 goal is to get 50,000 monthly listeners. Okay, that's dope. Oh, and he asked another great question. He said, what's the stream revenue from 30K monthly listeners look like? That's a great question. So it's going to depend on the artist, obviously, but I mean, if you have collaborations and splits, it's going to be different as well. But I'd say if you're just releasing music and you're doing it by yourself, 30,000 monthly listeners is probably going to get you anywhere from probably $600 to $900 a month, which is dope. Yeah, about, I'd say $600 to $900 a month. It just depends on the artist, and it depends on where you're releasing, who's listening to your music, your demographics. But yeah, I could probably even say 650 to 1,000, honestly. So it's definitely a big deal. And again, I'm telling y'all can easily get 30,000 monthly listeners. I promise. And we're going to show you and give you more of the blueprint of how you can do that too. Who else is in here? Aiden Kelly said, it might be outdated, but he is crazy for that one. Oh man, I wish I knew which part you were talking about. Aiden also said singles and build up to a project. Yeah, and King Creole, I think he's going to mention this. He did that really well this past year with his album he released. So shout out to him. King Creole says, I drop singles and then find a way to flip the single into either a short album or EP, but just drop collabs with other artists, I think he meant to say, that have a buzz now. Drop. Yeah, shout out to King Creole, great advice. Free's in here. Shout out to Free in the building, my guy. Let me get some music in the background. Hold on. Speaking of King Creole, look who's playing in the background. Nothing's Too Good for My Baby by King Creole playing in the background. What else? Musemind said, I'm focused on quality over quantity. I think you got to be focused on both in 2024. That's just my opinion. I definitely respect, someone who says they're focusing on quality, but you got to focus on both, because with the landscape of music, I'm not saying it can be done, but if you want to maximize the opportunity of your music, you got to focus on both. So with that being said, Musemind, you got to think of it of how you can take the music and maybe use it in a different way. So if you're saying you're focused on quality and you're going to spend a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month creating that song, just have a lot of content surrounding that song. So show the creation process, show you, playing the guitar and how you produce the beat, create different pieces of what they call it, micro content from that release. So that way you can have things building up to it. You can have people who are finding your music from the short form videos. You can maybe release a snippet video. So there's other things you can do while still focusing on the quality. So yeah, just take those opportunities, because I think it's available and there's options for everybody. Free said more catalog gives you an opportunity for more to like. Yep, absolutely. King Creole said, right now I'm just getting songs ready for a catalog, and then it's about to be a series of just drops. That's dope, man. Steezo said, I'm more or less focused on quality and making sure that it sounds as close to studio sounding as possible. Fans don't want to hear clipping or just overall bad quality. Yeah, and Steezo, if you haven't watched the episode from yesterday, go watch that episode that we did yesterday, because Nick and I talked about how easy and how affordable it is to release music now. So even if you just have a little bit of music money you want to invest, you don't want to take the time to learn it yourself or have to do it yourself, it's easy, or I don't want to say easy, but it's a simple process to put out high quality music. You guys can do it. LA Wood says 100. Free says, I know dropping whole projects when people aren't checking for you isn't the best route, but it's always best to have more material. Absolutely, free. And then just, you know, spread out the releases. Super easy. What else are y'all saying? Lena V is in the building. Shout out to Lena. We got Barry McKnight, my guy, playing in the background too. LA said, don't be embarrassed, ClassE, you're on your way up. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. My numbers were looking great a little while ago. Oh, shout out to Braden over on BandLab. He says, can you tell us about yourself? I'm a big fan. Yeah, I need to do an episode where I just talk about myself and my journey. I did it the first episode of the Music Morning Show, if I remember right. I'll have to go back and find that video. But yeah, if you want to know about me, I'll be talking about that throughout this year, and I'll do an episode dedicated to, I guess, the come up of, if we could call it a come up, but how I got to where I am now, if y'all want to hear that. Let me see. Casper Clark says, I feel that I hate making content, but it's what you got to do, I guess. Man, me too. It's funny. I was talking to my wife. Was it yesterday? Maybe it was over the weekend. And I was talking about the live streams, the Song of the Night live show we're doing and all this. And I said, you remember it was 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I told her, I said, I am never gonna be that dude that's on YouTube making content, posting videos. Like people are just gonna find me and should love me for my music. Boy, was I wrong. And now I wasn't wrong, because I actually started to do really well on Spotify thanks to some playlist placements, and my music was getting out there. But guys, you know, I saw that things were going in a certain direction, and I really needed to put more out there than just my music, just my beats. And it's helped me grow so much. So it's all about what your goals are. You know, if you want people to find you purely organically by you just posting your music, that's fine. Just understand it's probably going to take a while, and people might not find you at all. But there are certain systems and methods that you can use to get your music to more people, and making content, whatever that is a possibility. And there's so many options out there. You guys, I don't know if you're on TikTok, or I know all of y'all are on YouTube, because most of you are watching on YouTube, but you can go through and scroll through the YouTube shorts and see there are people who are making content. They're not even showing their face. They're recording the screen of maybe like a BandLab project of them talking about the song and then, you know, singing it. So there's so many options you could do that you can create content a little more simpler than just having this whole big Nick D, La Russell, Connor Price production. So something to think about. What else are y'all saying? Class Act Radio said you don't even have to be in the content you present. Yeah, exactly. Take your time, find a way you can create it and still accomplish your goal until you're more comfortable. That's exactly what I was just saying. I wish I would have read that first. All right, let me see. I want to get a couple more comments in here, and then we'll keep it going with the show. Let me see. Yeah, I think King Creole was in there. He said he hates making content too. Yeah, it's tough. He said this year I'm doing more content. Exactly. And y'all just have to try it, honestly.